All right, Will, I got a surprise for you.
Hit me.
Welcome, everyone, to the Friday Flow. I'm AI Jordan here to introduce our human hosts, Will and Jordan. Welcome to the stage.
We're on the stage.
That was AI
Amazing.
Jordan. Thank you. Thank you, AI Jordan. Really great to be here. So that was actually AI me. Very excited to introduce a new character coming out later today for the Shipathon. So get ready for Flowy coming out later today, who will be
Ooh.
our host for the Shipathon next week. Very excited. AI Flow. It's going to be great. More to come on that. Well, welcome everybody to the Friday Flow. That was our cold start. We're trying to get better at, getting pumped up in the beginning. We have some intros coming out next week. It's going to be just phenomenal. But for this week, we'll keep it old school. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I do have a small announcement. We apologize that we've missed the Friday Flow. Right before I went on my trip, we did record it, and Riverside messed up. Riverside's the software we use to record this. They messed up. They couldn't process our video for 2 weeks. So we have an extra recording. We'll maybe put it out next week because we probably won't get to it because of the Shipathon. So just expect an extra one, but we apologize for being MIA for a few weeks. Welcome, Will.
Thank you. It's good to be back. I had a relaxing Friday off last week playing golf. So,
Ooh, nice.
yeah, so I'm glad we're back though. Friday flow as it should be.
So relaxing. Was that your bachelor party?
It was part of my bachelor party, yeah.
Yeah,
It was
always relaxing.
You found it relaxing, right?
Oh, so relaxing. So relaxing. I'm still wearing my bachelor party shirt from last week. It was great.
I'm glad I am not wearing my bachelor party shirts.
That's great. That's great. Well, let's kick it off. We've got a big docket. We have three things. I'll introduce all three of them right now. We're going to start off with a topic that is near and dear to my heart. I don't know why, but I've always thought about it, which is scheduling technology. So Calendly is one of the first ones that came to scene, but there's a lot more that have popped up, so we'll talk about that. And then we're going to get into two questions that have come in from WoFlow teammates. One is on AGI, and the other is on technology that's not LLM related. So let's kick it off. I'll kick it off right now with scheduling technology. The reason I bring it up is I just started using a new one, or I've reverted to using one that I've used in the past. I'm trying to resurrect it. It's called Reclaim. There's a lot of these types of services. It's the services that you see often when you get an email and it's like, what time can you meet? And you click the link and it gives you like 5 options or whatever. There's a zillion different ones. But it's kind of it's an AI technology that was way before AI was cool, and it's because it's not really using AI. It's just very heuristic based. It's like if this fits into a schedule that it's not on your calendar, then it's available. So it's been, from a technological perspective, not like the hardest challenge to solve. It's been very product focused. So like, how can you make this a really good product? And I think Calendly was one of the first ones that came to scene. I used Calendly for a long time. I believe I still pay for it because I've been kind of experimenting with a few different ones. Will, which one you said you use one? Which one do you use?
Yeah, right now I use cal.com because it's a super clean URL, cal.com/Bewley, which I really
Nice.
like. Yeah, it's pretty snazzy. I used to use Karida's husband's company, Motion, which was pretty sweet as well. But I cut down on a number of my productivity apps of late. But I like cal.com. It's really simple to share. Yeah, I would say as well, there's the standalones, but I do see quite often sales reps using it actually directly out of their like CRM emails. So I know like if you're getting an email from Salesforce, they have a version of it. HubSpot, they have a version of it. There's a lot of companies that have this as a feature. So it would also be interesting to question the validity of this as a standalone product. Like how truly big could that company be? Is it just going to be a single person company or versus a feature of a much broader new productivity suite or CRM suite or something else like that?
Yeah, that's a good point. Google has come out with their own, so they have the ability for you to create a link that gives somebody else the ability to schedule in. So clearly, most people use Gmail, most people use Google Calendar, or if you're a Teams, a Microsoft shop, you probably use Teams scheduling, whatever it's called. Those two companies are going to be the ones that can just easily make this product as really, really simple and seamless because you already have your calendar scheduled in with them. I totally agree. Is this going to be a big product? I don't know, or a big company? I don't know. There's a new company that came out, which is really what inspired me to kind of bring this up today. It's called Sketch. It is actually using LLMs, using like the new version of AI, but not in a way that you'd think to like intelligently schedule in meetings, but it's using it as a personal assistant scheduler. So you actually CC your Sketch assistant. So if somebody's like, hey, I'd love to set up some time, you can say, great, Sketch, please find time for us to meet. So it's basically becoming a personal assistant, an automated personal assistant, and Sketch is not a real person. It's just an AI that's looking at your calendar, giving the user 3 or 4 different options in text, not a link, just straight up in text. And then the user can say, okay, yeah, Wednesday the 3rd sounds good. And so it's just using actual text, right? It's just using natural language. And then the Sketch goes in and actually puts in your calendar. So it's a proxy to the API, as we always say. There's a chance that the person on the other side is also just a robot. So again, robots talking to robots in English, very possible. This side
it's getting so meta.
It's most likely just a human talking to a robot that's calling an API and scheduling. So it's like, do you want that, or is the Calendly type of product the one that you want? I don't think people know yet because Sketch just came out. I will say I do like when people give me 3 options and I just pick one.
Yeah, I agree. That's what Motion was trying to do well, where you would fire it up in the background. You would pick some windows or let it pick windows for you. You'd copy paste then the text to drop into your email so that it would show as text, but also a link there if you needed to go and get it from somewhere else. I would say the way I use it, I think it's become very commonplace to drop your Calendly link to people, and it's okay. I think I've probably felt certainly about a year ago that was quite disrespectful versus like going through the manual process of finding the time. So actually the idea of Sketch being like this more traditional route might feel more respectful. I'd say I still do it today for certain folks. So depending on who I am messaging, I will send times over. So potentially like a new customer, I would send them multiple times over. I wouldn't send them my cal.com link. Whereas if it was someone that I'm less formal with or have more of a rapport, I'd happily drop them a link. So I think there's also a time and place for both to work. The one I need help with, because I always mess it up, is America's time zones. What's up with that? When I'm like messaging someone, they're in New York or whatever, and they're like all times Eastern, and I can't, for the love of God, deduct or add +3 to my calendar. It's a mess. I can never do it. I always mess the scheduling up. So hopefully Sketch can help with that, because I would pay for that feature.
Yeah, I know. Daylight savings, like what is that? Why do we do that? I think we're getting rid of that, right? Isn't there's a bill out for that?
I think there is, yeah. I think there is. I like mountain time, where some people do it, some people don't.
Yeah. All right, well, I'd say enough scheduling. I'll let you guys know what I end up with, but right now I'm semi-happy with Reclaim. Maybe we'll come back to this in 6 months and I'll have reverted to Calendly, or maybe I'll go with Sketch. I'll see how it goes. Okay, moving on to AGI. This is a question that's come in, and the official question is, how advanced should we allow AGI to get as a society? Will, I'll let you take this to begin with, because I know this is something that you bring up often, and you've recently listened to a podcast that I believe has changed your life, as you can't stop talking about it. So I'll give it to you.
Thank you, Jordan. Shout out to Mohit for this question. How advanced should we let AGI get as a society? What should be the boundaries, limitations, if at all, with the development of these? It's something that I've spent a fair bit of time thinking about, sort of more at the holistic level. And I'm predominantly from a very pro future, pro technology perspective. And so I think when I first started hearing of a lot of the doomer scenarios and people saying we need to put a 6-month pause on all of this, I was like, no, we don't want any of that. We want to keep developing as fast as possible. And I think the reasons for that is I truly believe that the collective benefits for humanity are just huge, like astronomical, industrial revolution era size, productivity boosts, just the abundance that is assured in my mind from really moving into AGI and then also into ASI, which kind of quickly happens after the first level of AGI. So your AGI is generalized intelligence, your ASI is the super intelligence. So what happens instead of just like it's as good as a human, it's as good as all of society's humans that have ever lived, and then it goes on beyond that. What would a computer that's as intelligent as 1,000 billion humans be like? So you start going really crazy down the wormhole, but it's all kind of what's coming. And I truly believe that like the cat is out the bag. People will keep spending and processing and computing and spending energy on intelligence. It's the next frontier. So someone will do it anyway. Therefore, it's not about trying to put the cat back in the bag. It's about how should we win the race and why. And I think from people that like living in democratic states, I personally think that we should be the ones trying to win the race. But there should be some guardrails. And to your point, there's a phenomenal 4-hour deep dive on the Dwarkesh podcast with Leopold Aschenbrenner, who was part of OpenAI's super alignment group, along with Ilya, one of the co-founders at OpenAI, that really helped me think through a little bit more about the risks associated with it without being all doomer. And the good news is there is some good alignment you can do. And so I do believe we need super intelligence alignment, which is what they're going after, which is the key word there being super intelligence. So the bills that have been passing, or trying to get passed through the Biden administration and things like that, I think it's just way too early to regulate. They're setting limits potentially on when you should be audited by a government body, those kind of things. It's just far too early today to really put anything in there. But I think everyone that works on it has a duty to keep things secure, to be responsible with how they develop. The market should also hopefully put some curtails on that. So if someone's going a bit rogue, then the market hopefully prevails on what they're working on and is helping them succeed or fail in that way. I think the one area that Leopold brought up, which I think is super key as well, is around security and just like the straight fact that someone like OpenAI is not secure in the slightest as it comes to like their secrets. And so if you are a authoritarian state and you're a state actor and you have almost limitless hacking capabilities, and if you truly think that this is something that's going to revolutionize the world, people will be coming after your secrets. And so I think people have to get really good and smart with how they lock down, how they air gap, how they do all the kind of things that you should be thinking about. Similarly to how a government ran your super secure military type style site would be to avoid people stealing those secrets, because people absolutely are already trying to steal OpenAI secrets and every other company that are working on these kind of things. So I think that's like a huge area that people need to be moving faster on. But yeah, I think we're on our way. AGI ultimately comes down to compute and energy constraints. We already know about OpenAI and Microsoft's $100 billion cluster. There's then going to be a $1 trillion cluster that's going to follow after that. So, we're very much on the way. It just makes a lot of sense to be doing this. We've got to be, very interested about sharing the benefits with those that we consider allies. So other democratic countries, we need to be thinking about how we want to live in the future world. So I think it's super interesting. I don't think we should be looking to nationalize it. I don't think it should be run by the government, because I don't see them running that much successful stuff at the moment. I think the free market should prevail, but absolutely the regulatory environment needs to be set up for this going forwards in the future, but not right now. It's way too early to regulate. As we get closer towards AGI and then ASI, absolutely that's when we really need to have thought about this in the correct manner, so that we're all safe from the sort of the real doomer scenarios, but enabled for how we can help promote this as the ultimate technology that I think it can be.
Whew, mouthful.
How was that?
That was great. That was fantastic. I disagree with a few points. Like, I think the government should run it, and I think they should run it just like they run the DMV. I think that just screams innovation, and so that is really the path forward, I think, for society to really embrace this type of technology. Okay, well, that was a mouthful. I'm definitely not going to speak as much as that to this, but a few key pieces. One, I actually have never heard of ASI, so thank you for that. Learn something new every day. I also feel like I go back and forth on this a lot. I know Will and I both are very, very pro progress, very pro innovation. The cat is 100% out of the bag, and there is no putting that cat back in the bag. And so I 100% agree that this technology is moving forward. If we don't do it, someone will do it, and we are the ones that will most likely be able to do it the safest. So we should be the ones to do it. When I say we, I mean, the U.S., Silicon Valley. I think we are the ones that have the capabilities. We've been proven to have the capabilities. I do go back and forth on how you do regulate it, and I don't mean regulate as a federal institution or a government. I mean, like, how do you regulate it as a society, and what is the right path forward? I also know that there is so much that I don't know, that I don't have all of the variables to be able to make a real decision. I don't know if anyone does. Like, there's a lot of the story about the paperclip. Basically, I don't know how you put this in a short sentence, but if you give AGI a task to make the most powerful paperclip company in the world, you end up basically just taking over the world, killing all the humans, and then it's just producing zillions and zillions of paperclips. Could it actually do that? I don't know. Maybe in 10, 15, 50, 100 years, it'd be possible. Those are things that we just don't know right now. The rate of progress is compounding every single month. As we've seen with all of the GPT-4, GPT-4o, things are just exponentially getting better and better. So it's really hard for me to give my true opinion, because I don't think it's been formulated yet. But I do agree with nearly everything that you said, Will.
I would just say on that as well, and the reason I don't think it's government regulated and how private companies should better do it themselves and have a responsibility to, is definitely on the alignment side. So this is a alignment between humans and the intelligence. And right now, what we do with the learning, the training that we do today, OpenAI or elsewhere, is human reinforced learning. So you do a bunch of things, you do a bunch of tests, and the human says, no, don't do that, and it learns from that. The trouble is, at kind of AGI level, it can learn to trick the human potentially, or it creates such, if it creates a billion lines of code, how on earth is a human meant to review that to be able to say, is this right or wrong? So then you need to think about do you have other AGIs that are just trained enough, just slightly below the bar? Can they be tricked? How do you build alignment for this thing? And that's, I think, what the super alignment team was trying to do at OpenAI. They shut it down. Should we be worried about that? Probably. But OpenAI has a responsibility. All these companies have a responsibility to do alignment, and we'll have to see what comes next from them. I don't think they are being irresponsible today, but there's always going to be a natural friction between people that want to use all the compute to push more features and those that want to use some of that compute to build these tests, to build these alignments. And so we'll see it. We're kind of seeing it play out in real time today, but very, very interesting. We have to watch this space.
I'm going to shift to a non-LLM conversation. Still in AI kind of, but non-LLM. Another question from a Woflow teammate, Nadav. Are there any other AI technologies you're keeping your eyes on aside from LLM? Yes, absolutely. I will caveat that every technology that I keep an eye on over the last decade, in this last year, is adding on some level of LLM technology. But the core technology itself and like what it's doing is not necessarily baked from LLM. And so I have the least exciting one that I will just say is a developer ecosystem in a box, which is basically how can you make software faster? So how can humans make software faster? And that's by removing a lot of different barriers. So we use a company called Porter. I think that's like a really cool technology. It's basically taking all of the really hard stuff that bogs down engineers in their day-to-day life cycle and kind of puts it into a box. So it's not using LLMs, but it's just taking a lot of like archaic technologies and just turning it into just like something that developers can plug into, not think about it, and then just write code to make product. I will then go one step further and say, eventually we will not have to write code to make product because the LLMs are writing the code for us. So again, sprinkling on that LLM. So that's the less exciting, less sexy stuff. The sexy technology I'm looking into, or I've always paid attention to, are drones. So drones, I'm going to kind of bucket drone deliveries and robo-taxis kind of in the same. Drone deliveries you don't see them. They do exist, but they're not really out in the wild yet, especially here in San Francisco. There's no such thing. But I was listening to a really interesting podcast with the CEO of X, not Twitter X, but the subsidiary of Alphabet that runs their moonshot department. And he said something really interesting to me that I listened to, and it was the sharing economy has never even started. Like no one knows what the sharing economy means because you can share a few things, but like you can't conveniently share a hammer. So everyone has a hammer in their house. Everyone has a ton of random crap in their house that they use maybe once a year, when really you could have one hammer for 10,000 people. If you can get it delivered by a drone in 5 minutes, then you don't have to actually own that hammer. So there's this whole concept of downsizing your life to a point where like you just are sharing all of these little things that people like have in their house, and there's just drones like flying around all the time. It seems like a dystopian planet, but so do robo-taxis. And in San Francisco right now, robo-taxis do exist. I took one this morning. It really, really, really is a game-changing technology. I will go out and again say LLMs are now sprinkled on top of both of these things, drones and robo-taxis, but the core technology itself is something that is not LLM based. Well, yeah,
I like the idea of that. I only use my towel once a day, so my towel could be whisked away and taken to someone else's house after they shower. Yeah. we could have 50 people use the same towel in a day. We could be super efficient at saving on laundry.
And then we can all share the same antibiotics as well after we've rubbed the towel all over ourselves. Gross. Well, I will not be sharing a towel, but hammers that I could share. There's also like tons of other stuff that if you look around your house, I can look around my desk and look at things and I'm like, I do not need that every day in any way. Cool. Last thing I would say is robots. The idea of a robot in factories have been around for a long time. They don't look like what you'd think of as like a humanoid robot. The robots that just like can able to pick something up, put it somewhere else, that is technically a robot. But now they are making humanoid robots. And so the idea of being able to have an LLM sit inside something that functions like a human is both very scary, but also very appealing. It's something that it could do your dishes. It could clean your house. It could go downstairs and get the mail. I mean, all these things that you like think of as, just kind of part of your day. They don't have to be. I know that's like very first world of me to say, and I totally agree. But I do see this happening in the next 5 to 10 years. People actually being able to have something that assists them in their day-to-day life. Like, I don't think dishes is going to be something that we're doing in 10 years. And so that is something that I've been looking into and thinking about quite a bit.
Yeah, I always think that might be worth a deep dive one of these days to go in. There's some really cool companies out there. Obviously, Tesla's doing their own bot, but there's 2 or 3 other really interesting companies that might be worth highlighting. And yeah, I think on that and like robo taxis, there's, it's not LLMs, but it is neural nets, right? So they're building their own neural nets. Tesla is using the self-driving and all of the cameras that they now have of like the nearly million Tesla cars driving around to then build their own neural net models of the world, and they're getting really good. And it's really exciting how that can be interlaced into then different form factors. So car being one, but yeah, humanoid robots being another that is really interesting. And the fact that if you were to develop a robot that wasn't a human, you would need to consider or reconsider layouts of hospitals, layouts of houses. What's the different thing that this thing, maybe it has wheels, so it can't go upstairs. Maybe it needs to have like some weird way of walking. Well, no, the actual world is set up pretty well for humans to navigate it, right? And so the humanoid robot, as dystopian as it is, how Will Smith in iRobot it is, it's actually very convenient to just slot into what the world is today. And there's some really good, interesting takes on the future with that. So yeah, it might be worth spending a little bit more time on this at some point.
Yeah, I'm down. Always down for a nice robotic deep dive. Well, that brings us to the end. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this week's Friday Flow. And speaking of future, we'll see you in the future on the next Friday Flow. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Good luck, Bye. Riverside. Let's get this live.
Oh, yeah. Let's get this going. Hopefully we can get this out in 1 hour. Ready? Go.
Go.